Welcome to Dance Fit Biz Builders. I'm Orit, dancer, instructor, and proud owner of a thriving belly dance fitness business. And in this podcast, I'm giving it to you straight, sharing what it takes to kickstart and grow your dance and fitness business for the success you deserve. Whether you're a seasoned instructor, a passionate performer, or dreaming of turning your love for dance and fitness into a thriving career, you're in the right place. Lace up those sneakers and pull on those dance shoes and get ready for truth smacks, tips, and inspiration. Let's do this. Hello and welcome to Dance Fit Biz Builders. I'm Orit, your host, and this is episode, what is it? I think it's 52. Holy cow, episode 52. And I have a special guest today. Okay, here's why she's special. First of all, I'm honored to have her in the SharQui Virtual Studio as not only an instructor, but a badass master instructor. So she not only teaches, but she also mentors other SharQui instructors. And I'm so honored to have her. What a privilege. Ugh. But not only that, she's a badass business owner. And we're going to talk about all about that. But first, hello, Jill, and welcome.
Hey, Ori. Thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
Yes, of course. Yes. And Jill, I would love for you to tell our audience, how the heck did you get started in dance and fitness?
Oh, great question. Dance has always been a part of my life. One of my earliest memories was being about 3 or 4 years old and going up to my mom in the kitchen and just kind of putting my hands on my hips and saying, "Mom, I want to dance." And she said, "Oh, one of our, my grandmother, her friend's daughter had just opened a dance studio a few blocks away from our house. So she said, I'll enroll you in classes in the fall." And I never stopped. I just always had that love. I was always choreographing and having these visions of full-on productions, not just the dances, but the costuming, the lighting design, the staging. And I just always kind of knew dance was going to be a part of my life. My junior year of high school, I had to decide, obviously, what I was going to do once I graduated, what if I was going to go to college, what the next chapter would be. And I auditioned and got accepted into the Pennsylvania Governor's School for the Arts. It was a 6-week program, and I was fully immersed in arts. I was a modern dance major with a musical theater minor. And when I came back from that program, I just knew that that's what I wanted to do with my life. I just was so happy waking up every morning and moving my body and dancing and being around other artists. And that's what I decided to pursue. And being able to marry your passion and something that you have to do it with being able to make a living was such a blessing. So I really am leading quite a fortunate life, I would say.
Oh, yes, you are. Wow, you are so fortunate, Jill. So
I really am.
And she's an amazing dancer, folks. I've seen her in action. Amazing.
You are too, Orit.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So, Jill, now you're doing contemporary dance. What other types of dance?
Well, I started with the ballet tap combos when I was a kid, but I didn't really like tap. It was a little too chaotic for me as a child. So I started with ballet tap, drop tap after the first year, stuck with ballet. And then I started jazz when I was around 6 or 7. And then, a friend of mine was in a modern company that was in our hometown, and I went to go see one of her shows when I was like 12, and I just fell in love with it. And so I approached the director and told her how much I, loved the show, loved the style. And so she invited me to become an apprentice with the company around, I was maybe 13, I want to say. And then I apprenticed for about a year, and then I became a full company member. So I started modern dance in my early teens, and I have a memory of being in the wings before one of our shows. And I looked at the director and I said, "This is what I want to do with my life." And so that's what I had a concentration in modern dance. in college. I went to University of the Arts. I concentrated in modern dance, but I always knew that I wasn't going to be able to dance forever. And I had a love for teaching at a very early age. And so the practical side of me said, let me get my degree in dance education, because if you can dance, you can dance. You don't need a degree that says that. When you audition, either you can dance or you can't. Either you fit the role or you can't. But when you are teaching classes and applying for teaching jobs, they're going to look for those credentials. Do you have the psychology training? Do you have the anatomy training, the kinesiology training? You know, there's so much that goes into being a teacher, specifically a movement teacher, whether that's dance or fitness, that I felt that that would really give me a leg up on in the real world when I was applying for jobs, having those education degrees under my belt.
I mean, that was smart. Yes, it was practical, but you already had good business sense.
Well, I would say I'm not going to take props for that. I had a great mentor, my first dance teacher that I mentioned, that was my grandmother's friend's daughter. I trained with her from age 3 until age 18, and she could see that I had an innate love for teaching. When I was a kid, it might have been considered bossy but I think it was just, leadership, qualities. And she really encouraged that, nurtured that. She brought me in to be her assistant, in her classes when I was around that 12, 13-year-old age. So I was her assistant for several years. And then she encouraged me to, go through the Dance Masters of America teachers training program. And again, I just fell in love with it. I'm such a nerd when it comes to dance academia. So I really had somebody that was, looking out for me and kind of saying like, yes, you are a very talented dancer. And I have no doubt that, you can succeed, but I think that you would really benefit from getting this training. And each year you learn how to teach different levels. So your first year you learn how to teach beginners. Your second year you learn intermediate level. Third year you learned advanced. And the one thing that I loved about that is that we trained in all different styles, on how to teach all different styles. So I got classes in ballet, in modern, in jazz, in lyrical, in musical theater. We had nutrition classes, dance history courses. Really, it's a very well-rounded program. And then at the end of the 3 years, when you go to take your exams, you can pick which one you want to focus on. But during the 3-year program, I was exposed to how to teach acro. So I could essentially sub an acro class, even though I don't personally teach it, but I have the training on how to at least be able to run a class. But then you can pick, what your interests are and what you want to get certified in. So I have a degree in ballet, jazz, and modern. So I was really lucky. I had a mentor that, could see that spark in me and encouraged me to think, in the longevity of a career. So I can't take credit for that all myself.
But you stayed with it. How about that? Yeah.
Yes. And that's one thing that was a interesting shift when I graduated college, came out to Los Angeles and began my career in dance, is that it's a job. At the end of the day, it really is a job, even though it's something that I love to do and I get a lot of satisfaction doing. Sometimes I'm tired and I don't want to have to put on the false eyelashes and the ballroom heels and go out and do a gig or whatever, but it's a job. So having that switch of, yes, this is something that I love, but it's also now my career. That was a very interesting mental shift, I would say.
Very cool. Very cool. So you moved to LA. You're teaching and performing, correct?
Yeah, I was really lucky in the audition circuit. The Sahala Dancers was, I think, the third audition I went on when I came to Los Angeles. And the thing I didn't realize about LA, coming from I was living in Philadelphia right before that, was how big and spread out LA is. And And one of the main reasons I auditioned for Sahalo is that the rehearsals were like a few blocks away from where I was living at the time. And I was like, sure, I would rather drive a couple of blocks than have to drive down to Venice or downtown LA. And that was like the third audition I went on, and was really fortunate to get into the company pretty early on from my move. I think I had been in LA for maybe 6 weeks before I got the job.
But so here you are, certified to teach and dance traditional dance. Now, why suddenly belly dance?
Well, actually, the interesting thing on the audition post was that it was an international dance styles company. So it listed, and they were looking specifically for ballet and modern trained dancers. And if you had a background in Bollywood, in ballroom, Latin styles, samba, that was a plus, but they would be willing to train. And I was like, well, I've done some of those styles before. I had never belly danced before, but my own personal style is very kind of fluid. I'm much more of a legato dancer. So I thought it would be kind of a natural fit for me. And luckily, I fell into one of the best companies in the country, quite honestly. It was, Jelena Carlano was the founder and director of the company, and they offered a company class free for the company members. So I got to take class twice a week, training in belly dance. But I wanted to get good quickly because I was dancing with these amazing belly dancers. And I was like, if I have to share a stage with them, I better, get my act together. I can't be looking a fool. So I started training also in tribal styles, because I'm a firm believer when you are starting a style, I didn't want to get pigeonholed into one style. So I was taking with multiple teachers simultaneously to kind of give myself an overview of what is out there, and then trying to make it fit to my body, like what felt good and what techniques I felt that worked for me. Yeah, so that's how I came into belly dance, man. Craigslist audition.
Amazing. And so you're in her company. How long?
So I joined in 2007, and at the time, belly dance was really having its heyday, I would say, commercially. We had several nightclubs in the Los Angeles area. So not only was I rehearsing with the company twice a week and taking classes 3 times a week, I was also doing at least 2 to 3 shows every weekend. So I just was like completely immersed into it. And I was really fortunate, that we had so much work, because it really kind of forced me to, get good quickly. And so that we kind of rode that wave from 2007, I would say until maybe 2018, 17, 18. Yeah, almost a decade, I would say. And, it ebbs and flows. Eventually, the industry changes and some of those nightclubs closed. But we still had 2 that we were working at pretty consistently. So around 2013, I became an assistant director to the company. And then I was pretty much running the company because the other 2 assistant directors had families and had wanted to retire. So I was pretty much running the day in and day out. Obviously, Jelena was our go-to person and had the final say. But she was very busy with her other projects, her belly dance evolution and her training program, that I was kind of, like I said, running the day-to-day stuff. And, it will burn you out. There's no break, in the entertainment or in the gig industry specifically. You got to take the work while it's there. And so I never really had an extended break. And then the pandemic hit, and I guess I got the break
Yeah.
needed.
Yeah.
It's kind of forced upon us. But interestingly, in 2020, Jelena had decided that she wanted to give up the company. Now, whether that meant one of us took over the business or whether the business dissolved, she wasn't sure what that looked like. But all she knew was that she wanted to invest her energies into her other projects. And I mean, rightly so. She had the business since 1998, 1999.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just time for her to, put her energies into other things. And so she had a discussion with myself and the other assistant director. And neither one of us wanted to take it over. And this was the beginning of 2020. This was before everything had closed down. And so she kind of just let it be because everything, shut down. And so all the gigs stopped, all the classes stopped, whatnot. And then she called me a year later, beginning of 2021, and we revisited the conversation. And I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I was really at a crossroads. Things in LA were pretty dire when it came to the entertainment industry. There were no gigs happening. And I was, the studio that I was teaching at had closed. Luckily, I had found you, Orit, in the virtual studio. That was one of my saving graces, part of my sanity during the pandemic. But it wasn't stable, and I was getting older and I wasn't sure whether I wanted to continue in the dance world, and actually had started applying to school to become a physical therapy assistant, and had even taken some of my entrance exams. And then when Jelena had talked to me about taking over Sahala, I thought long and hard about it, and I had talked to different people in my life, actually you being one of them as a business owner, talked to my family, my friends, my other mentors, past company members, whether this was something that I wanted to do. And ultimately, everybody kind of had the same reaction. It's really up to you, but I can't imagine your life without dance in it. And when I really listened to my gut, and my heart, I was like, yeah, I think this is what I need to do. But it wasn't a quick decision. I really kind of marinated on it for several weeks because if I was going to do it, I was going to invest everything into it because I wanted to succeed. It was a company that had so much prestige and a lot of history that I wanted to do it justice. I didn't want it to fail. And maybe that's the Aries in me. I have a very hard time failing.
Yeah. Wow. Well, first of all, what a gift that you were already learning the business side of running a company because you were assistant.
Yeah.
And what another gift that you're not necessarily starting from scratch because Sahala already has a name.
Exactly. Yeah. That was a big factor in deciding to take over Sahala rather than start my own thing, because of the reputation, the name, the prestige. And we had a lot of repeat clients. It was beautiful. They would call us in for the engagement party, of one daughter. Then we would do her wedding. And then several years later, the younger sister would get married and they would bring us back. And then it would be the first daughter's, baby shower. And so we had kind of gone through all of these milestones with different clients. So they would call us back. And that's why a big factor in deciding to take over the company was because of that built-in name recognition.
Awesome. Awesome. Very lucky. Yeah. Now, I'd love to talk about the business side. Okay. So how long did it take for you to buy the company, get it on board, change the name and then start getting gigs? How long was that transition?
So from the initial conversation with Jelena to actually having the business transferred over, I would say that was about 6 months from the first talks, the negotiations, and when I bought the company, what all was I purchasing? Obviously, the name, but I had to go through and kind of inventory everything that she had as far as costumes, choreographies. There was a business phone, so I had to switch over, the phone plan. I had to switch over ownership of the website, the hosting of the website. And then I had to open up an LLC. And actually, to kind of help me with all of that, I ended up using Zen Business. It's an online tool because I didn't want to mess anything up. So I use Zen Business, which has been super helpful because there's all these little things that you have to do that I wasn't aware of.
So what is Zen Business? Does it give you a blueprint of what to do in sequence?
Yes, exactly. And then you just kind of have to plug in your information. And that's how I was able to file the LLC. That's how I got the EIN number for the business. And I had to open up a bank account that was solely for the business. So that took some time. And then a few years later, I ended up also opening up a credit card, because that really helped to be able to expand the business, to be able to purchase costumes, or when I wanted to produce shows, or when we did our study abroad in Egypt, having that credit card really did allow me some flexibility in my spending in order to grow the business.
Nice. How lucky are people when they're starting a business nowadays? Like, you now have a website of what to do. Like when I would start in 1998, I'm like, what the heck? Well, where do I start? There was nothing like that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you have this business. Now what? How do you start promoting, getting people, dancers?
So I was lucky. A few of the dancers decided to continue on with me in the company. A few of them decided that they wanted to pursue solo work, so they didn't stay on, which I understand and respect. But I'm a firm believer of whatever you're investing your energy into, it's going to come back to you. So I just knew that if I auditioned the girls and started, rehearsing them, creating choreographies, getting new costumes, doing photo shoots, that the gigs would come. And when they would come, that we would be ready for them. So even though we didn't have gigs at the moment, I still started rehearsing and setting, new choreographies on the dancers. One of the things that I found was really helpful was advertising on Gig Salad. It's an online thing that matches gig workers with events. They have the free membership, but I thought it was worth the investment to do a paid membership. And I would say now I get, at least, 3 to 4 gigs a month from the Gig Salad website.
That's awesome. So that's how you market right now. Is there any other ways that you market?
Having good SEO on my website. A lot of people will just email me through either the company's email or the chat that's on our website, and say, hey, I found you through Google. I want you to do an Armenian show. We just did one a couple of weeks ago. And I asked, how did you find us? And Google search. So having good SEO really does help.
And can you explain to the audience SEO?
It's called search engine. I think SEO stands for search engine optimization.
Yep.
So it's keywords in your website that when people are Googling, belly dance classes or Armenian dance, that your website will be one of the first that will pop up.
Right. So it's making sure you have all those words in there, everything that you do.
Yes. Yeah.
And do you feel that's enough, or you feel like you need to do more promotion, different ways?
Yes, because the way that our clientele skews is sometimes we have older folks that aren't online much. So they want to call and they want to talk and they want to ask questions. Down to the younger generations that will DM me on Instagram and book the show through Instagram. So we're in this weird transition right now where you kind of have to have multiple ways of advertising, whether it be email blasts or Facebook, our YouTube channel, our Instagram, and then our website. In addition to also kind of soliciting ourselves to different event planners, or sometimes I will go back through our archives and look at past clients we've worked with and just send them a little check-in and an update on like, these are the new pieces we've been doing. These are our new costumes, or little reminders. Hey, Nowruz is around the corner. We have a lovely Persian dance program. Or, hey, I know it's the holiday season and we're offering a special package. If you book before a certain time, we can give you a discount. So a lot of it is also thinking in advance of what events are coming up or what time of year it is and trying to reach out to clients.
That's amazing that you really know your audience. What I found really interesting when you said, oh yeah, sometimes we have an older clientele who just like to call.
Yeah.
So that has to be, that phone number's got to be available. You know that you have a younger audience who likes to DM. Like you really know your audience. And the fact that you're nurturing past clients, fabulous.
Thank you. I thought that was the most daunting part of taking over the company, was doing the bookings and working directly with the clients. However, as the years have gone on, it's actually one of my favorite parts of becoming a business owner, because I really understand what the client is looking for, what's important to them. And then I'm able to kind of tailor and specialize the show specifically for their needs, which I get a lot of gratification out of. Didn't think that was kind of surprising to me.
That's
That's
cool.
one of the things I enjoy the most.
I'm just curious, the fact that you bought the company from Jelena, was it like kind of nerve wracking? Like, oh my God, do I need to fill her shoes? And like any like nervousness around that?
100%, 100%. Those are some giant shoes to fill. She has been a mentor and an inspiration to me. And when we were in talks of taking over the company, I asked her, are you going to be available if I have questions or, come into a situation I don't know how best to handle? And she was like, 100%, I will be there for you. As the years have gone by, I felt like I've gotten my footing a little bit more. But yeah, in the beginning, I was terrified. However, I believe that if you're not doing something that's not at least a little bit scary for you, you're not going to grow. And I just thought it's now or never, I was really fortunate that she continued to mentor me during that transition. But one of the things that I found really comforting is that I'm not Jelena. I don't have to be her. This is a new era of Sahala, and that I can put my own stamp on it. And that was one thing that she really encouraged me to do, is to not completely, try to do things the way that she did and copycat everything. Is that I have my own voice and my own vision, and to really run with that. I don't think she would have encouraged me so much to take over the company if she didn't think that I was going to do something and take it to a different level,
Mm-hmm. Right. Wow. Amazing. And you're doing an amazing job with it. Amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a labor of love. I would say actually one of the things that I find the most challenging is scheduling. That sounds so weird, but making sure that I have the right dancers available for each gig, and that they, have enough time to prepare. So, for example, if it's a choreography that they haven't done, or if I'm choreographing a new piece, to make sure that they have ample time to do the research, learn the choreography, feel comfortable with it. So, planning ahead and scheduling, I think, is the most challenging part of owning a business,
Yeah,
specifically dance.
that was my next question. What are your biggest challenges? But now, what are your biggest challenges as far as growing?
Oh wow, I would say that we're kind of, because we are a commercial dance company, that we're kind of at the mercy of what's happening with the industry. As I said, when I started in 2007, belly dance was kind of having its heyday, and having a big group show in the nightclubs was the thing. People wanted to go out and spend their money and see a high quality, very well choreographed and costumed show. And the way that the industry has changed now is people don't have the attention span to sit through a 30-minute performance. Venues don't have the revenue to pay for a 5 dancer performance, because dancers are demanding that they get paid better, which I 100% am behind. So just the industry is changing quite a bit. I feel now that the not only the venues, but the audience wants more of the gimmicky, dancing with a snake, dancing with fire, looking beautiful in a costume. They're not really that concerned with the quality of the choreography nor the technique of a dancer. And I'm not saying that this is right or wrong. I'm just stating that this is what's happening, not only in Los Angeles, but I've seen it in across the country. That it's all about, what you look like, and the flashy, 10-second clip that you can get, that they can put on their Instagram, that has nothing to do with the artistry of the dance form anymore.
Interesting. Thank you for saying that. That's too bad. I hope it really turns around. Now, here at Dance Fit Biz Builders, I talk about how to make your passion sustainable. Now, you said something very interesting. You said this is a labor of love. What do you mean by that?
Because you might not see results immediately. I think that's what I mean by a labor of love. And just going back to that theme of wherever you're investing your energy, eventually it will come back to you.
Got it.
When I started investing into myself as a teacher, and investing into myself as how to be a good leader, a good director, I'm now starting to see the fruits of those labors, a year or two down the road, because people will be able to see the difference in your classes, the flow of your classes, the level of education you bring to your classes, and also as a dancer, as a director. Do people want to work with me? As dancers decide to leave or pursue other projects, if I need to call and ask them to come in and do a gig, I have everybody returning to me, because I create an environment that people want to work in.
I love that. And what are you struggling? Is there a challenge being a leader?
Yes, I would say the line of, especially in the dance world, friendship versus leadership, because I work hard to, create a very fun and friendly and supportive environment. But at the end of the day, I am the boss. So sometimes I have to, make decisions. The line of, yes, I'm your friend, but I'm telling you in a very nice way that you can't be late, for this, those types of things. Or your makeup isn't to the level of my expectations. And even though I love you as a friend, can't have that. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
No, totally. Right? Like it just, people who work for you, dance for you, it ain't personal. This is just business.
There it is. Yeah. It's not personal, even though we have a personal relationship. The things that I'm telling you are strictly from a business standpoint.
And some people can't handle that.
Yeah.
So you own this company. You're an amazing leader. Where do you think you got these leadership skills from?
I don't know, Ori. Nobody's ever asked me that, where they've come from. I feel like I've always kind of been this way. I remember when I was a kid, I used to put on shows in my parents' driveway, and I would get the neighborhood kids together and I would pick the songs that we were going to choreograph to. And I'd put together little costumes and hang sheets up on my mom's clothesline and make curtains and get the one neighbor kid to be the MC. And I remember the kids kind of telling me that I was bossy. In my mind, it was just like I could see the best way forward. And I'm always open to input, but it doesn't mean that I'm going to use the input. I kind of consider everybody's thoughts. And then I don't know, I feel like I've always had this kind of innate sense of self that I could just trust my gut moving forward.
You were a natural director.
Yeah.
It seemed like. I mean, not bossy, but maybe that's what they meant. They didn't know how to say it, but you were directing people what to do. Yeah.
Maybe, my delivery at 7, 8, 9 years old wasn't the most passionate. I think I've learned how to finesse things a little bit better in my years.
Of course. So, Jill, looking back, is there anything that you would do differently in building Sahala?
Oh,
or even your career in general as a dancer?
Honestly, no. I remember thinking when the pandemic hit and everything, had shut down, I'd stopped touring. And I remember thinking at the time, well, if this is all that it's going to be, I had a great run with it. Honestly, I had no regrets. I had awesome training. I worked with amazing people, got to see a lot of our world. And I don't think I would have done anything differently.
Wonderful. I never got that answer from anybody.
Yeah. I've had a stellar career. Really. I have.
Amazing. Oh, great. Oh, I'm so happy for you. It's wonderful.
Okay. Here's one thing I would have done differently. I think I would have demanded better pay.
Okay. That's fair.
Yeah.
Yes. That's okay. Great. Good.
Yeah.
Now, Jill, what advice would you give someone who's looking to grow their classes, their business, their dance company, whatever?
What I had said about investing in yourself, really taking the time to get that training, to make sure that your teaching is tight. We've talked about this before, Ori, that we have pretty high standards when it comes to teachers.
Mm-hmm.
And it really bothers me when I go to take somebody's class and they don't know their choreography or they're messing up their counts. So just to make sure that you're really prepared, as prepared as you can be on your end.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that your product will speak for itself. Actually, I advertise on ClassPass. So in my in-person classes, I offer them on ClassPass. So say I have, my capacity is about 15 people in my class. And let's say I have 10 people that's pre-register. Well, I still have 5 spots left. And if I don't have anybody that registers the day of, I'll throw them up on ClassPass and fill those spots. Now, obviously, I'm not making the same revenue as I would with my pre-registers, but it gets bodies in there. It gets it's more promotion for myself and for belly dance and SharQui as a dance genre. So I was on ClassPass fiddling with my schedule yesterday, and I saw reviews. I haven't read the reviews, and they were all 5-star and just glowing about the energy of the class and my teaching style. And I was like, that's what it's about. I put a lot of freaking effort into my dance teaching, my training, and it shows. People want to take my classes because they've walk away feeling accomplished. I'm easy to learn from. And I wouldn't have developed that had I not gone through the SharQui, certification or got my degree in dance ed, those types of things. Another piece of advice I would say is, as a teacher, go and take other people's classes. That way you remember what it's like to be a student, be on the learning side of it. And it also helps you to see what you like and what you don't like as a teacher. Sometimes I take a class and I walk away thinking like, oh, you know what? I'm not going to do that as an instructor because I didn't like the way that made me feel, or I didn't respond to that teaching technique. Sometimes I walk away from a class and being like, wow, I loved those little cues that they gave, or the images that they used. So I think it's really important not only to invest in your teacher training, but to remind yourself what it's like to be a student, and what you like and what you don't like in a class format.
Yes, amazing. So many golden nuggets right there. Thank you, Jill. So, Jill, what's next for you? Any exciting projects?
I am teaching at the Pittsburgh Belly Dance Fusion Fair, June 6th through the 8th, which I'm very excited because it's my hometown. So I get to tie in a little family visit with that as well. And you and I have been talking about this new little project that I want to get started. I've actually been thinking about it for quite a while, and I really need to jump on it. But I've had a lot of requests for online tutorials for belly dance movement, but also the ins and outs of running a dance company, running a belly dance troupe. So I am putting together some materials that will help people when they want to launch their own thing. So hopefully that'll be ready beginning of next year.
Amazing. Oh, amazing, Jill. I'm so excited for you.
Oh, thanks, Ori.
Hey. Jill, gosh, you are amazing at what you do, and filling Jelina's shoes. Like, you're just someone who just like gets the fuck off the fence and does it. That's you.
Thank you so much for having me, Orit, and being such a good mentor and a good friend. I get so many great ideas when I chat with you, and I really appreciate you just being such a cheerleader and such a supporter of dancers, dance teachers, and the belly dance community as a whole. I really thank you. I'm so grateful to Jessica that brought us into each other's lives.
Yes. Ditto, my friend, ditto. And so, Jill, if you can take us out with our signature outro.
All right, folks, until our next episode, go and kick some ass.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you, Jill.
Thanks, Ori.
Bye.